The morning started like any other Tuesday. My wife rushed to get ready for another business trip while I dragged myself out of bed, still tired from our late-night movie marathon. We had our usual morning routine. She hogged the bathroom while I made coffee. Then we switched places as she packed her final items. "You're moving like a turtle today," she teased, zipping up her suitcase. "Someone's getting old." "Well, staying up till 2 a.m. watching movies was your idea," I replied, trying to wake myself up with a hot shower. This would be her last business trip before we started trying for a baby. After 5 years of marriage, we finally felt ready. The thought made these goodbyes a little easier, knowing they wouldn't last much longer. She'd already talked to her boss about transitioning to part-time work once we had kids. After breakfast, I helped load her car for the 5-day trip to Portland. These negotiations were important. Her law firm was working on a major deal with a tech company. As we hugged goodbye, I noticed her eyes getting watery. "Hey, this is the beginning of something great," I said, trying to cheer her up. "Soon we won't have these goodbyes anymore." "I know," she smiled. "How about takeout on Sunday when I'm back? I won't feel like cooking." "Perfect. Now go close that deal." I watched her drive away before heading to work. The manufacturing plant where I worked as an engineer was only 20 minutes from our house. I had just settled at my desk with my morning coffee when my supervisor Mark called. "Got a minute?" he asked when I picked up. In his office, Mark explained that our technician in Seattle was sick and couldn't handle an urgent client issue. Since I was familiar with the equipment, he wondered if I could fly out to help. "How soon do they need someone?" I asked, already thinking about the empty house waiting for me. "Tomorrow morning if possible. Should only take a day or two to fix." "I can do that. I'll head home to pack and catch an afternoon flight." As I drove home to get ready, an idea started forming. Seattle wasn't too far from Portland. If I wrapped up the work quickly, I could surprise my wife. Maybe take her to dinner, spend some quality time together before we started our next chapter. At the airport, I tried calling her but got voicemail. I left a message saying I was visiting my brother for a few days and she could reach me on my cell in the evenings. A small lie to keep the surprise. The client issue in Seattle turned out simpler than expected. By Wednesday afternoon, their system was running perfectly. I immediately booked a flight to Portland, planning to arrive around 9 p.m. During my airport dinner, my wife called. We chatted briefly. She mentioned being exhausted and planning a quiet night in her hotel room. Perfect timing for my surprise. I reached her hotel by 9:45 p.m. The front desk clerk checked my ID and gave me a key card after I explained I wanted to surprise my wife. The suite was empty when I entered, but her laptop sat closed on the desk with a small lamp on beside it. After checking the bathroom and bedroom, I noticed the connecting door to the next room was slightly ajar. As I approached, I heard noises that made my stomach drop. Fighting every instinct to burst in, I forced myself to stay calm. When I peered through the gap, the scene confirmed my worst fears. My wife was there with someone, a man I didn't recognize. I retreated silently to grab my camera from my bag. With shaking hands, I adjusted the settings for low light and returned to take several photos. They were too absorbed to notice me. Before leaving, I checked my wife's briefcase and found a business card from Mike Thompson, her firm's lead negotiator. Back in her room, I connected my camera to her laptop and set one of the photos as her desktop background. Then I packed up and left, returning the key card at the front desk. I booked the earliest flight back home, leaving at 6:30 a.m. Perfect timing. She usually opened her laptop around 9 a.m. to start negotiations. That's when she discovered she was caught. I couldn't sleep at the airport hotel, replaying the images in my head. By 5 a.m., I checked out, emotionally drained but determined to end this quickly. Landing back home at 9:30 a.m., I turned off my phone when I saw her name on the screen. At home, the landline started ringing. Her voice came through the speaker. "Please call me back immediately. It's important." I ignored the message and went her in a moving truck. Within hours, I packed my essential belongings and moved everything to a storage unit. My next stop was a divorce attorney's office. Though I had evidence of the affair, I chose irreconcilable differences as the reason, keeping the photos as leverage if needed. At the bank, I split our joint accounts in half, opening new ones in my name only. I did the same with our investment accounts. Then I drove to my brother's house, suitcase in hand. "What's going on?" he asked, surprised to see me. "Your wife's been calling nonstop." I told him and his wife everything. They were shocked but offered their guest room until I found a place. Right on cue, around 6 p.m. as we were about to eat dinner, the doorbell rang. My brother opened the door and returned with my wife. "Why haven't you answered my calls?" she demanded. "All your things are gone from the house." "I thought the surprise I left on your laptop explained everything," I replied calmly. Can we please talk about this privately? There's nothing to discuss. I've already started divorce proceedings. Our lawyers can handle any communication. Please, let's not end things without talking, she begged. What's there to talk about? I saw you with Mike. You might want to warn him. I'm sure his wife will be interested in those photos. Oh God, please, we need to discuss this. You can write me a letter explaining why you thought breaking our marriage vows was okay. I'm sure a smart lawyer like you can spin it somehow. She left in tears. After she was gone, my brother's wife spoke up. That was harsh. Want to see the pictures I took? That's harsh. She showed zero respect for our marriage. How could I trust her to raise children with me? I understand, my brother said, but maybe after some time. Can we just eat dinner? I cut him off. The next morning, I went to work early, carrying my camera and laptop. After making copies of the photos, including a clear shot of Mike's distinctive watch that his wife had given him for their anniversary, I visited HR. The manager, Pete, was an old friend from my college days. I spread the photos on his desk. That's my wife with Mike Thompson during their Portland business trip, I explained. Check the timestamp. This is serious, Pete said. What do you want to do? They broke company policy about relationships between managers and subordinates. If the company doesn't act, I'll have to take legal action. I'll start the process with legal right away. Next, I told my supervisor about my situation. He was sympathetic and approved my vacation request for the rest of the week. He also mentioned a potential promotion to oversee our West Coast operations since our senior engineer there was retiring. On my way out, our receptionist Sarah stopped me. Your wife came by looking for you. If she returns, tell her I don't want to see her. Oh no, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It's okay. Everyone will know soon enough. She and Mike Thompson have been having an affair. My next stop was Mike's house. His wife Rachel answered the door. John told me you might call, she said. But he didn't say why. Can we talk? I'll be direct, I said, sitting in Rachel's living room. I saw your husband with my wife in Portland. I'm divorcing her and reporting them both to HR. I wanted you to hear it from me first. Rachel stayed quiet for a moment. I've suspected something for a while. The late meetings, the constant trips. I just didn't want to believe it. I have photos if you need proof. Leave them. I'll look when I'm ready. She paused. Mike's been a good father, but I guess that's not enough anymore. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. We were planning to start a family, but I can't trust her now. Thanks for telling me directly. I need to figure out my next steps. 6 months later, I signed the final divorce papers. I hadn't seen my ex-wife since that night at my brother's house. My lawyer handled everything. I gave up our house and furniture to make a clean break, removing my name from the mortgage and credit cards. She tried fighting the divorce until I gave her an ultimatum. Sign within 48 hours or I'd change the grounds to adultery and release the photos. She signed. She lost her job but found another law firm within a month. Lower pay, fewer perks, but she managed. I heard she started dating again. Mike got divorced too, struggling with alimony and child support after getting fired. His new job paid significantly less. I took the West Coast position and moved to a coastal town between San Francisco and Los Angeles. My apartment complex is full of young professionals. That's where I met Sarah, another divorce survivor who lives down the hall. We connected over our shared experiences and have been dating for 2 months. We're taking it slow, both carrying trust issues from our past marriages. But there's something different about her. She understands my work travel schedule because she travels for her job too. We talk openly about everything, including our hopes for children someday. Time doesn't stop for anyone, and at our age, we know what we want. I'm thinking about taking the next step with her soon. This time, I'm choosing someone who values honesty as much as I do. My ex-wife's betrayal taught me valuable lessons about trust and respect, but it also led me to where I am now, in a better place, with someone who shares my values. Sometimes the worst moments in life guide us to where we're supposed to be. I still think about that night in Portland occasionally, but the pain has faded. I'm focused on building a new life, one based on truth and mutual respect. Sarah and I talk about marriage sometimes, and for the first time since my divorce, the idea doesn't scare me. We're both ready to leave the past behind and start fresh. Maybe everything happens for a reason. If I hadn't taken that business trip to Seattle, I might still be living a lie. Instead, I'm building something real with someone who understands the importance of trust. We're both aware that relationships take work, but we're willing to put in the effort. After all, the best things in life are worth working for. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.